friends, lots to talk about today. I know you're enjoying the show so far, but important to take time out for a little reminder about Free Speech TV and how we depend on you. And you are so important. And I'm so proud to be part of this great Free Speech TV network because, look, this has been a big cause of mine for a long time. And that is how tough it is to find good, progressive opinion and commentary in this country anymore because the media is so lopsided to the right. I mean, if you look at talk radio, for example, there are about 2,000 news talk stations in the country. Maybe only 50 or 60 of them are progressive talk radio stations, and that's probably being, like generous. And on television, what do you got? You got Fox News far to the right. You got the corporate media, CBS and NBC and ABC. Even MSNBC is not progressive 24/7. As we know, there's only one 24/7 progressive television network you can count on, and that is Free Speech TV. But we're only there because of you, and we wouldn't be there without your help. And this is a time of the year that we turn to you again and ask for your help to keep free speech on the air and to keep your favorite progressives out there with you every single day. We ask you to be as generous as you can in making a pledge to Free Speech TV. And here's something you ought to consider. If you can give us $120, make that kind of a pledge to Free Speech TV, that's $10 a month, you'll get a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop in the world. It's right downstairs in our building. If you can pledge $240 or $20 a month from Cowgirl Creamery in California, take it from me, the best cheese in the world, better than France or Switzerland. Cowgirl Creamery, it's great. For $360 or $30 a month for that kind of a pledge, we'll send you another treat from Cowgirl Creamery, plus a Bill Press Show mug. And if there's any way you can pledge $1,000, a very special treat for you. You make your way to Washington, and I will take you and a friend out to dinner and then invite you into the studio here to watch the show the next morning. That would be a lot of fun. Hope you can take advantage of it. But however you can help, if it's $120, $240, or $360, or the big one for $1,000, we ask you just to dig in, be as generous as you can. It's so important to keep our progressive voices on the air, to keep Free Speech TV on the air. And there's one independent television channel that has no corporate money, no government money. All of our money comes from our viewers. We work only for you. We're happy to do so, but we also depend on your help. Please be as generous as you can. Thank you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
In 1920s America, the Great Depression effectively erased consumer demand. Struggling manufacturers needed new ways to get people buying again. Innovative production processes like stamping and use of molds allowed them to use new materials for their designs. Products using vinyl, chrome, aluminium and plywood began appearing. American industrial designers began introducing streamlined, efficient shapes that shouted progress. Bel Geddes pioneered what we now refer to as utilitarian art. Things that had little reason to look sleek now all of a sudden did. At the 1939 World Fair featuring Bel Geddes' immensely popular Futurama exhibit, a new era of American industrial design proudly claimed to be building the world of tomorrow. Americans found great positivity in these futuristic forms. Yay. Things were looking up. American industrial designers realized that by making objects look great, people simply wanted them more. From cars to kitchen appliances, the most influential society on earth was spending money again. Mass consumption had arrived. Advertisers finally had lots to talk about. Personal taste could be expressed through the things you bought. Style became equally as important as function. Chair designers like Eames and Saarinen didn't just design seating, they created desirable lifestyles. People behind the product suddenly were stars. Everyone wanted to know who they were. Raymond Loewy was one of the shining lights of American industrial design. His face ended up on every coffee table in the nation. Toothpaste packaging promised whiter teeth. Washing powder packaging promised whiter whites. Who knew such simple household objects would shape the tastes and ambitions of an entire society? American industrial design improved America, functionally, culturally and intellectually, and exported it around the globe.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yes, indeed, it is The Bill Press Show. Good morning. Happy Tuesday, March 11th. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Thank you so much for being there. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. No, seriously, I'm being genuine. I just sound like I'm being sarcastic. I have that problem, as people were telling me yesterday. I'm serious. It's an honor to sit here in this chair. I'm glad that Bill gave me the opportunity, and I'm thrilled that you're all there with me. If you would like to interact with the show today, God, there are so many ways you could do that. You could go to BillPressShow.com. You can follow us on Twitter at BP Show. You can follow me on Twitter at Peter Ogburn, which is where I'm checking most of the content today. You can call us at 866-55-PRESS. You can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/BillPressShow. You can download our podcast from the website. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio and TuneIn, the TuneIn app. What do you want from us? We got you all over the place, man. How can you not? We're on Free Speech TV. We're streaming live video on the internet. Now, if you want to watch us streaming live video, you're going to have to follow us on Twitter at BP Show. That's the way to get in on that action today. Because we're sending the link out. We've got the link up for you right there. Just go follow it, tune in, check it out. There's a little chat room there for you. Lots of good content there. I can't emphasize that enough. You should definitely go do that. Happy Tuesday again. Running the board this morning is Elisa Murphy. Elisa, good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you?
Pretty good. It's nice weather out there.
It was great weather yesterday. Mm-hmm. I went out and played catch with the kids.
Nice.
Yeah, for the first time this year.
It's a good feeling. Nice sun.
We're gonna get some more snow next week.
Perfect.
Right
on schedule.
No. It's the middle of March, for Christ's sake. And we're going to worry about snow next week?
I know. It's unbelievable. I can't believe it.
The worst. If you call 866-55-PRESS, you will be lucky enough to talk to Alicia Cruz, screening your phone calls. And I mentioned the streaming online, the video, and on Free Speech TV. If you are watching us, you are doing so because of Cyprian Bolding, the man who gets us live on the air. Cyprian, thank you so much for being there. Some sad news yesterday, by the way. I don't know if you saw this. Sbarro Pizza. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Very sad. We're the only place you can get a New York slice, right? Yeah. You want that? You want that authentic New York pizza? Yeah, you go to Sbarro. I'm surprised it took them this long to fold. That they went this long selling boiled pizza. I know, it's unbelievable. Out of the mall food courts. Yeah, it's mall food courts is where you find them. Last month they shut 155 of their 800 locations. Wow. So yeah, boy, it's being a bad year for food court eateries. The hot dog on a stick people filed for bankruptcy earlier this year. No way! I'm a huge fan of that place. I love their lemonade. You know what you call a hot dog on a stick? What? A corn dog. Yeah. Why not call it the corn doggery?
But
or something.
but they have the cool hats and everything. It's a whole experience.
It's been a minute since I've seen a hot dog on a stick.
Me
I think
too.
they used to have one when I was growing up. Boy, Panda Express really making their move, huh? To establish food court dominance.
Yes.
They're wiping the rest of the competition off the map. I mean, look, who's going to shed a tear for Sbarro pizza? You know when you eat Sbarro pizza when you have no other options?
Exactly.
Like the worst pizza on the planet, right?
Well, people go for their pasta too. It's crazy.
Get out of here.
I know, seriously.
Who goes there for their pasta?
They do. Whenever you miss like your cafeteria food from when you're in the 5th grade, that's where you go.
Yeah.
You know the old saying, pizza is like sex? Like even when it's bad, it's still pretty good?
Yeah.
I don't know about that with Sbarro.
I would definitely agree.
I don't know about that with Sbarro.
And it is like the most nutritional meal, they say.
What?
They say pizza because it has all of the food. Not Sbarro pizza, but that's always the argument with pizzas. It's like it's got all your food groups in one slice.
Stop it.
Yeah.
No,
as long as
no
you throw
one
some
says
broccoli
that.
on
Get outta
it, then
here.
you're all set.
No, nobody says that. No,
Seriously, I've heard that for years.
I mean, I could get an ice cream cone and put ice cream and hot fudge
And a cherry.
and
That's all
like
you need.
fried bread and then a little bit of fruit and vegetable and say, oh, it's got all the food groups.
No, seriously,
It's
it's
healthy.
a huge thing you always hear.
Get out of here.
I'm not kidding.
Okay. All right. It's like saying the hot dog on a stick is health food because it's got like some meat, some bread. You put some ketchup on it. There's your vegetable.
Yeah, mustard.
You got your fruit with a lemonade.
Just go to the mall. That's all you need.
Yeah. Now you can eat healthy there. This is probably a good segue into because the only time that I've ever had that kind of food is when I was baked, stoned at the mall, and like, oh, what the hell can I possibly eat? Oh, okay, fine, I'll do a Sbarro pizza.
Yep.
The numbers from Colorado's sales of medicinal and recreational pot are in. They came out yesterday, and I have to tell you, these are amazing. These are amazing. So when Colorado originally put this whole notion of selling recreational weed out there, they said, yeah, look, we're going to make some tax money. You know, this is going to help the state. We can tax this weed. It'll be good. And everybody said, oh, that's okay. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Turns out the sales of marijuana are through the roof, and they are breaking expectations left and right. So the first tax figures for Colorado came out yesterday for the month of January, right? So in the month of January, here is what Colorado sold in weed. They brought in $3.5 million in taxes and fees in 1 month alone.
Wow.
And what that breaks out to is $1.4 million from people using marijuana medicinally. So, you know, the medicinal marijuana, the people that are saying that they need it for medical purposes, right? Whatever those reasons might be. Mm-hmm. $1.5 million. And then in the sales of recreational marijuana, $2.1 million.
Oh, my goodness.
1 month, $2.1 million for one state of people who are smoking marijuana recreationally. Now, I'm not a math wizard here, but that's a lot of dough. That is a lot of dough. Medical marijuana still outsold recreational pot by more than 2 to 1, but I guess, you know, when you're talking about taxes and taxing it for recreational use, you know, you're going to make more money off of it.
It's a cash cow.
They showed $14 million worth of marijuana was sold in the first month of legal sales. And then once you put the taxes on it. So people want to buy it. People want to use it for recreational purposes, for medicinal purposes. It's a hit. We've got a hit on our hands with this marijuana. I think it's caught on in Colorado. So my question to you at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377, is this the proof that other states needed to take action on their own? I mean, we talked to Alan St. Pierre from Normal. We have him on every so often. We had him on last week, and he was saying, look, California is going in the direction of legalizing it. Maryland has some legislation on the way to legalize recreational marijuana. I'm not in the camp of decriminalizing or legalizing medicinal marijuana. I think we've gone far past that at this point. I think it's time to legalize and tax the hell out of recreational marijuana, right? You want to regulate it? Go for it. You want to tax it? Great. You want to punish people for driving while impaired? Also agree with that. I don't think you should smoke a bowl and then get behind the wheel of a car. But you want to hang out in your own house and you want to smoke with some friends and watch movies or whatever? I mean, you just want to hang out? What do I care? Why should you care? Why should you care? Why should it be illegal? 866-55-PRESS. That's my question to you. And, I want to hear the good reasons why it should remain legal, because I think that when you look at the amount of money that could be made from this industry, you have to ask yourself, why would we keep spending so much money fighting this when we could be making money? We'd be making money. $3.5 million the first month alone in Colorado. That's real cash, man. That's real cash. So what's the holdup? And I also want to know sort of what you think about how this rolls out. What's it going to take? Is it going to take the president calling on states to make it legal around the country? Is it going to take some sort of decree, some sort of high-profile mention from the president to say, I think it's time for states to act? I think that the states and governors could just say, look, we have budget problems all around this country. You look at our budget, and we have some holes to fill. We have some real problems. And one of the things we could do is to start selling marijuana and start making millions of dollars almost immediately. I mean, immediately they're making $3.5 million. Right off the bat. Why not? 866-55-PRESS is my phone number. I want to hear what you have to say about that. Why not legalize recreational marijuana all around the country? 866-55-PRESS. 866-557-7377. Hey, if you're high right now, you go front of the line. Just want to put that out there. Colorado listeners, give us a holler. Only if it's legal, right? Yeah. Wink, wink. Tweeting at BP Show and at Peter Ogburn. My name is Peter Ogburn, filling in for Bill today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Want to hear your calls next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help, because we wouldn't be here without you. It's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? Well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and say, and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery for $360 or $30 a month. You'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those who are able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 to Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today, 23 minutes past the hour. $3.5 million is the amount of money made by the state of Colorado off of medicinal and recreational use of marijuana. So why can't other states get on board? Make some money, for Christ's sake. I mean, come on. Brian in Kelseyville, California, called 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. You too can do the same. Brian, thanks for calling in.
Good morning.
Turn your radio down there, buddy, or your TV or whatever you're watching on or listening on.
Okay.
Just getting a little bit of feedback there. So tell me, when you get done with that, what's your take on this, legalizing it recreationally and medicinally?
Well, my take is it should have never been illegal in the first place.
Right.
Marijuana doesn't cause any problems. It doesn't cause medical problems. It doesn't cause problems for your liver. It's good medicine. It shouldn't have been illegal in the first place.
I'm with you, Dwight, or with Brian. I don't disagree with that. I can hear the argument that like it's not for everybody, right? But you know what? If you don't like it, you don't have to smoke it. You can do whatever you want to do. You could have a beer. And I understand for a lot of people, it's great medicine. Don't think it's good medicine, so don't use it. Marcia in Dwight, North Dakota. Thanks for calling 866-55-PRESS. That's our phone number.
Hi, I'm buzzing at this time. I have three medical recommendations, but what I'm calling about is every time I've been arrested, which is numerous times, I've been told that law enforcement make way too much money. Every arrest starts at $75. That's how much they get for every time they pull somebody in.
I need to back up for just a second, Marcia, because you sound like a charming, sweet lady, and you've been arrested numerous times.
Oh yeah, at least 8.
Are these all drug-related charges, marijuana-related charges?
Marijuana-related. I've even been in prison for it.
Oh wow, okay.
For what was it? 10 months. I spent in Minnesota State Prison.
For?
With three recommendations, medical recommendations.
No kidding.
No kidding.
So, I mean, what's the holdup where you are, I guess? What are you hearing there? Because if you're someone who benefits from it and uses it and enjoys it and gets some use out of it.
Well, I've been round and round with law enforcement.
Sure.
Over and over. And they say they just make too much money. They're like I say, it starts at $75 when I go in, and then it's a minimum $3,000 fine. And then they charge me for every day that I'm in jail besides. And I'm on Social Security.
Yeah, but so I mean, you're not paying your freight through jail. You know what I mean? I know that. It's when you go to jail, it comes at a great cost to you. But I mean, the taxpayers pay for jail time. So
yes, they do, but I also pay for it. They charge me. I think it's $75 a day that I have to pay.
No, okay. I understand that, Marcia, but I guess what my point is, what I'm trying to say is, while it comes at a great cost to you, it also comes at a great cost to taxpayers. So while they might be making some money off of you, they're also spending a lot of money to keep you in jail. And so while they might be making, I know that $75 is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much when you compare it to the fact that they're making $3.5 million a month in Colorado off of weed sales. You take away the fact that they wouldn't have to pay, taxpayers wouldn't have to pay for jail time and all that. Then it becomes a real benefit to them. Let's go to Joanne in Phoenix, Arizona. Joanne, good morning. Call 866-55-PRESS.
Hello. I understand that in Portugal they legalized all the drugs. The country becomes the dealer, so then the quality of the drugs is much more consistent. And so it put all the cartels out of business, at least in Portugal, and drug use actually went down because with the money they also offer drug treatment for people that are trying to get off of it. So
that's an interesting take.
Down. And besides medical marijuana, the marijuana will do things for people that pharmaceuticals just cannot.
Huh. Yeah. I think that's a good take, Joanne. I mean, look, and nobody in this country, I shouldn't say nobody, but nobody in the realm of possibility is talking about legalizing all drugs. I think that the argument can be made that the president even made is that getting high with marijuana is no more dangerous than having a couple of drinks. And so if you could regulate that and tax that the same way that you do with alcohol, you can make a ton of money. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. It's Tuesday, so Arthur Delaney is in studio with us. Coming up next from the Huffington Post, Peter Ogren in for Bill Press.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, lots to talk about today. I know you're enjoying the show so far, but important to take time out for a little reminder about Free Speech TV and how we depend on you. And you are so important. And I'm so proud to be part of this great Free Speech TV network because, look, this has been a big cause of mine for a long time. And that is how tough it is to find good, progressive opinion and commentary in this country anymore because the media is so lopsided to the right. I mean, if you look at talk radio, for example, there are about 2,000 news talk stations in the country. Maybe only 50 or 60 of them are progressive talk radio stations, and that's probably being, generous. And on television, what do you got? You got Fox News far to the right. You've got the corporate media, CBS and NBC and ABC. Even MSNBC is not progressive 24/7. As we know, there's only one 24/7 progressive television network you can count on, and that is Free Speech TV. But we're only there because of you, and we wouldn't be there without your help. And this is a time of the year that we turn to you again and ask for your help to keep free speech on the air and to keep your favorite progressives out there with you every single day. We ask you to be as generous as you can in making a pledge to Free Speech TV. And here's something you ought to consider. If you can give us $120, make that kind of a pledge for Free Speech TV. That's $10 a month. You'll get a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop in the world. It's right downstairs in our building. If you can pledge $240 or $20 a month from Cowgirl Creamery in California, take it from me, the best cheese in the world, better than France or Switzerland. Cowgirl Creamery, it's great. For $360 or $30 a month for that kind of a pledge, we'll send you another treat from Cowgirl Creamery, plus a Bill Press Show mug. And if there's any way you can pledge $1,000, a very special treat for you. You make your way to Washington, and I will take you and a friend out to dinner and then invite you into the studio here to watch the show the next morning. That would be a lot of fun. Hope you can take advantage of it. But however you can help, if it's $120, $240, or $360, or the big one for $1,000, we ask you just to dig in, be as generous as you can. It's so important to keep our progressive voices on the air, to keep Free Speech TV on the air. And there's one independent television channel that has no corporate money, no government money. All of our money comes from our viewers. We work only for you. We're happy to do so, but we also depend on your help. Please be as generous as you can. Thank you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hi, this is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill today on this Tuesday, March 11th, 2014. It's Tuesday, so it's time for our chat with Arthur Delaney, reporter from the Huffington Post. Hi, Arthur.
Good morning, Peter.
One of the authors of HuffPost Hill, which I'm a big fan of. If you haven't subscribed to HuffPost Hill, I highly encourage you to do so. It's delivered into your inbox every afternoon. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Good job on that.
Thank you.
I mean that.
I appreciate that. My contribution every day is the Daily Delaney Downer.
Which we love. Yeah. And you do it very well.
Yeah. To upset you. To make you sad.
Before you got here, we were talking about the new numbers out of Colorado. So they reported yesterday that between the sales of recreational marijuana and medicinal marijuana, they made $3.5 million in taxes in the month of January alone. So they're already exceeding their expectations.
What had been their expectation?
I'm going to have to get back to you on if it was going to be monthly, but it's higher than, they're on track to beat what they thought it was going to be. And so we're taking calls from people about why not a nationwide acceptance of the legalization of marijuana. So we have Karma on the line. Karma called 866-55-PRESS. Karma is in Houston, Texas. Hi, Karma.
Hello. Thank you so much for taking my call.
You're very welcome.
I think if you look at where the money train goes, I think that the pharmaceutical companies, the alcohol industry, the tobacco industry, would be looking for their interests, and I think that it'd be interesting to see how much lobby money actually goes to the legislatures to make sure that marijuana stays illegal. As a matter of fact, I think that given the fact that it's been proven that people drive slower, I think that there would be an interesting scenario with people not ending up with, so many DUIs and in the hospitals for, binge drinking and driving.
I mean, look, Karma, I hear what you're saying. I'm not going to make the argument that it's okay to drive while high just because you drive slower. I mean, you're clearly impaired, and I don't know that that's the best argument to make. But look, there are pharmaceutical lobbies out there. There are people out there lobbying against marijuana. There will be lobbies for marijuana, and there are. I mean, we have Alan St. Pierre from Normal in studio with us.
The most powerful lobby against marijuana legalization is probably the police organizations.
Yeah.
Because they, through federal grants, receive a lot of funding for the war on drugs by fighting against marijuana and asset seizures and things like that. So and they've been the most vocal. Those are the ones who send letters on this. Mm-hmm. And I think they're the most vocal anti-pot lobby. I haven't heard it too much from Big Booze.
No.
Because, pot and alcohol, they mix.
They mix pretty well.
Yeah.
It is interesting that the governor of Colorado, who wasn't exactly in favor of the legalization of recreational marijuana, is a former craft brewer and sort of talked about how it might not be a good thing. But you're right. I don't think the alcohol lobby has come out in force against marijuana.
I think it's the cops.
Yeah.
And presumably the pharmaceutical lobby would just get in on the game.
Right. They can start. Yeah.
They'll make those weed oil pills.
That's right.
Which come from somewhere. I know cancer patients who receive cannabis oil. Mm-hmm. Presumably a drug company is making that. I mean, they would stand to profit, I'd imagine, from more legal weed.
One more call on this from Timmy in Nocona, Texas. Texas weighing in strong on this. I can't imagine why. Timmy, thanks for calling 866-55-PRESS.
Thanks for having me, Keith.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Jesus, dude. That voice of yours, man, it's like the voice of God booming in here. Okay, you took me off guard. What's happening?
Well, I'm just sitting here, and I have lung cancer from smoking cigarettes all my life. And I just think it's hypocritical for the government to legalize cigarettes and not to marijuana.
Yeah, I think it's a case that people have been making for a long, long time.
But it's no one says that marijuana has the same cancer-causing effects that cigarettes do.
Right?
Do they?
No, I don't believe that the cancer-causing effects are anywhere near what cigarettes are. But even if they were, so what? At least marijuana has some benefits to it.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Timmy, I appreciate the call, man. Thanks for calling in. All right, Arthur, you mentioned the Daily Delaney Downer, which you do. You talk a lot of financial issues and issues that affect lower-class people, middle-class people around the country. One of the people who is pushing some new ideas in air quotes, for those of you who aren't watching, Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan had some interesting things to say at CPAC. What is he pushing these days?
Well, he made this speech, and I think the line, it will probably follow him for the rest of his career. He said the left wants to give people full stomachs but empty souls.
That's very deep.
It is kind of deep.
It's very deep.
And the argument is that safety net programs may protect Americans from the vicissitudes of life, but having food and shelter will leave you unfulfilled in some important way. And the only way you can get that fulfillment is by working and winning the dignity of work. So, Huffington Post, we're a big news website, and we have a polling operation.
Yeah.
So we asked people whether they would rather have a full stomach and an empty soul, or a full soul and an empty stomach. And we asked them 2 other questions, but I'll start with this. Mm-hmm. Paul Ryan, it turns out, has his finger on the pulse of the American people, who 72% to 28% would rather have the empty stomach and the full soul. However, we also asked people if a job that doesn't pay basic living expenses gives them dignity, even though they might have empty stomachs. And people did not think that was a good proposition. Some, like 2/3 of people said, actually, no, a job should pay basic living expenses. You're not living in dignity if you can't afford to take care of yourself,
right,
and have shelter.
Right.
We also asked if people think that giving free food to poor people steals their dignity. And similar result, no. Giving free food to poor people by a 63% to 90% margin. Most Americans said that giving free food to poor people does not undermine their dignity, and only 30% of Americans said they think working people in low-wage jobs that don't pay basic living expenses gain dignity from those jobs simply by virtue of working. So that basically people are not agreeing with what Paul Ryan is saying, which is that working, even a terrible job, doesn't give you the special fulfillment.
Right, right. I mean, his basic argument, it seems to me, is just take whatever job you could get, and that'll make you happy. Doesn't matter if it can pay your bills or provide a living wage. And where does he stand on the raising of a minimum wage?
He's against it.
Course.
I mean, but this is the essential argument that we have been having in our society since the Victorian Poor Laws. It has always been an argument that you hurt people by helping them, and this is an argument that comes from, has historically come from the ruling class, aristocrats, and the business owners who fund think tanks, who benefit from having people not fed so well by the government, because that'll, if they have a broader labor pool that allows them to pay lower wages. So you don't want to have uppity workers who are being taken care of.
Right, knowledgeable workers. Yeah. It's an interesting theme. I think that falls into a lot of what came out of CPAC, where the Republicans were all saying, like, we're the party of ideas. We're the party of ideas. We need to put some ideas on the table, and then not a lot of new ideas were really put on the table, and the ones that were kind of not received all that well.
I think in the last few weeks, there's been a really clear distillation when this Congressional Budget Office said Obamacare could reduce the workforce by a couple million people, because those people would voluntarily be leaving jobs, which is different from Obamacare crushing these jobs by reducing demand for goods and services. Democrats were like, well, that's kind of good, and Republicans said that's terrible, because they don't want labor reducing its own supply. And it shows you on this question which side of the political debate is aligned with the people, the businesses, the employers, the people who would benefit from workers not being better off.
That's an underreported part of that story, I think, about people who would leave terrible jobs.
Because Democrats are uncomfortable arguing that, any less work is good in any way. But I think to workers it is.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. We're going to take a quick break. There's a lot more to talk about with you. Arthur Delaney from the Huffington Post. Follow him on Twitter at Arthur Delaney HP. Arthur Delaney HP, and online at HuffingtonPost.com. My name is Peter Ogburn, in for Bill Press. Quick break. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help because we wouldn't be here without you. You know, it's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? You know, well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, you know, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and say and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, you know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month from Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery for $360 or $30 a month. You'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those who are able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past, and now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on Talker TV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, Tuesday, March 11th, 48 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. It's Tuesday, so we have our good friend from the Huffington Post, Arthur Delaney, in studio with us.
Hi.
So Arthur and I were just talking. I still kind of find this unbelievable, but in about 45 minutes, Funny or Die is the website, the comedy website, is going to release the latest episode of Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis. And if you haven't seen it, it's a very awkward...
It's intense.
Yeah, very intense, very awkward skit where Zach Galifianakis interviews a celebrity. It's very uncomfortable. It's a lot of times meant to embarrass the person that he's interviewing. And in about 45 minutes, the latest episode is going to come out with President Barack Obama.
I find this really hard to believe, but apparently it's true.
Apparently it's true. I'm still struggling with the idea that this could possibly be true. So my theory is that Zach Galifianakis will reel it in considerably because it's so cringy when you watch the actual episodes.
I don't know. That would defeat the purpose of Between Two Ferns. What he pretends that he is incapable of interviewing, has no self-awareness. He had Justin Bieber on. You know, what is he, like the biggest celebrity in the world or something like that? And Bieber's kind of trying to act like he's in on the joke. But Galifianakis gets furious, takes off his belt, and whips. Literally whips Justin Bieber. And like hits him hard. And Bieber, I think, because he's trying to play along, doesn't get too upset. And he's had Samuel L. Jackson on this program, and he made awkward racial comments. Will he do that with the president?
I have to think that the president will have this pretty tightly controlled.
The president's trying to reach the youth, right? To tell them to get Obamacare.
Right.
And Zach Galifianakis is going to be like, I don't have Obama. He's going to be like, what is that?
Right. Right. It's going to be cringy no matter what. So we're going to, if it's worth playing on air, right, if it's worth playing the audio from, we'll play it here in about 40 minutes. On
Good
the Bill
Lord.
Press Show.
Incredible that is happening.
It's very weird. Arthur, I want to ask you about this story that just popped up just moments ago, because one of the things we've talked about whenever we have you in are the long-term unemployment benefits.
Yes, I'm sorry for boring your audience with
it's an important issue.
All right, good.
It's an important issue. So where do we stand with that, and what's the future of it?
We stand where we have stood, which is this is benefits for people who've been out of work 6 months or longer.
Yes.
Congress let them die. Congress isn't going to bring them back, but Democrats keep doing stuff. They keep looking busy, and what they're doing tomorrow in the House of Representatives, they will try a discharge petition, which is one of the only tools the minority party has in that chamber. It won't work. You need a majority of the House to sign off, and it would allow the legislation to come to the floor for a vote, even though it hasn't come through a committee. They tried this with minimum wage. You can't get, right now, 19 Republicans to break off from their opposition to support something like this. But Democrats tell us, we're going to try it anyway. At least we're putting pressure. So it's part of their ongoing strategy to make noise and get the phones ringing on the congressional switchboard, put Republicans in a bind. But I think Republicans won't feel bound to hold a vote on this. Yeah.
866-55-PRESS is our phone number. We actually got a call on the minimum wage and CPAC from Joey in Chicago. Joey, good morning.
Morning, guys. I want to know how many of them CPAC people work for minimum wage. I don't want to hear not one word from them people until they have to come and work for minimum wage. How the hell do they know what we struggle? And how can you own a company and pay people slave wages and expect them not to go to the government for help? You can't have it both ways, Republicans. Stick it up your butt.
Wow. Slave wages. Well, slaves don't get wages, but your point is taken. I think most of the people who came to CPAC, I'm just guessing, I wasn't there, but my colleagues interviewed a lot of people. They have traveled, and that might not be a priority for someone who makes $7.25 an hour. You might not have the funds to travel for this.
Right.
So I'm guessing not a lot of people there made the minimum wage, except for the people who maybe work at the hotel.
Yeah.
But a lot of people who make the minimum wage, who are low income, vote Republican. Maybe they've got other priorities that the Republicans stand for that they like.
Arthur, I appreciate you coming in, buddy. Every Tuesday, we love having you in here.
Thank you for having me in here, Between Two Ferns.
Between Two Ferns. By the way, if you haven't done so, I highly encourage you to go sign up for HuffPost Hill. You can just go to HuffingtonPost.com, sign up for it, and the day's news will arrive in your inbox every day, courtesy of Elliot Nelson, Arthur Delaney, Ryan Grimm. So thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Follow me on Twitter. I'm desperate.
Follow him on Twitter at Arthur Delaney HP. Arthur Delaney HP. Thanks, Arthur. We'll see you next week, man.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help, because we wouldn't be here without you. It's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? Well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start At the end of every show, the first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery for $360 or $30 a month. You'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those who are able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill today on this Tuesday. PSA. Yesterday, Apple released its latest mobile operating system update. Like they unveiled iOS 7 last year, like September. So there's a new major upgrade. They fixed some bugs and made a couple of improvements. The first thing they did is they made the keyboard. I know a lot of you use iPhones and iPads, right? I'm not just making this up. Their keyboard is bigger. It's easier to read. Like I got these kielbasa thumbs, right? Like I just mash everything down like some sort of a spongy mess. That just makes a whole big mess. But it's easier to use now. They're like bolder, they're clearer, they're easy to use. It's a good little update. I'm just saying, if you use it, you should go download that. And you know how to do that. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, just go in your settings and it'll download. Hey, it's Tuesdays. We've already had Arthur Delaney in, so we're going to have Igor Volsky. God, I feel like we just saw Igor on Friday.
Yeah, I wonder if he brought any more Corona.
I think he drank it already. We'll talk to him next on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, lots to talk about today. I know you're enjoying the show so far, but important to take time out for a little reminder about Free Speech TV and how we depend on you. And you are so important. And I'm so proud to be part of this great Free Speech TV network because, look, this has been a big cause of mine for a long time. And that is how tough it is to find good progressive opinion and commentary in this country anymore because the media is so lopsided to the right. I mean, if you look at talk radio, for example, there are about 2,000 news talk stations in the country. Maybe only 50 or 60 of them are progressive talk radio stations, and that's probably being, like generous. And on television, what do you got? You got Fox News far to the right. You got the corporate media, CBS and NBC and ABC. Even MSNBC is not progressive 24/7, as we know. There's only one 24/7 progressive television network you can count on, and that is Free Speech TV. But we're only there because of you, and we wouldn't be there without your help. And this is a time of the year that we turn to you again and ask for your help to keep free speech on the air and to keep your favorite progressives out there with you every single day. We ask you to be as generous as you can in making a pledge to Free Speech TV. And here's something you ought to consider. If you can give us $120, make that kind of a pledge to Free Speech TV. That's $10 a month. You'll get a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop in the world. It's right downstairs in our building. If you can pledge $240 or $20 a month from Cowgirl Creamery in California, take it from me, the best cheese in the world, better than France or Switzerland. Cowgirl Creamery, it's great. For $360 or $30 a month for that kind of a pledge, we'll send you another treat from Cowgirl Creamery, plus a Bill Press Show mug. And if there's any way you can pledge $1,000, a very special treat for you. You make your way to Washington, and I will take you and a friend out to dinner and then invite you into the studio here to watch the show the next morning. That would be a lot of fun. Hope you can take advantage of it. But however you can help, if it's $120, $240, or $360, or the big one for $1,000, we ask you just to dig in, be as generous as you can. It's so important to keep our progressive voices on the air, to keep Free Speech TV on the air. And there's one independent television channel that has no corporate money, no government money. All of our money comes from our viewers. We work only for you. We're happy to do so, but we also depend on your help. Please be as generous as you can. Thank you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
In 1920s America, the Great Depression effectively erased consumer demand. Struggling manufacturers needed new ways to get people buying again. Innovative production processes like stamping and use of molds allowed them to use new materials for their designs. Products using vinyl, chrome, aluminium and plywood began appearing. American industrial designers began introducing streamlined, efficient shapes that shouted progress. Bel Geddes pioneered what we now refer to as utilitarian art. Things that had little reason to look sleek, now all of a sudden did. At the 1939 World Fair featuring Bel Geddes' immensely popular Futurama exhibit, a new era of American industrial design proudly claimed to be building the world of tomorrow. Americans found great positivity in these futuristic forms. Yay. Things were looking up. American industrial designers realised that by making objects look great, people simply wanted them more. From cars to kitchen appliances, the most influential society on earth was spending money again. Mass consumption had arrived. Advertisers finally had lots to talk about. Personal taste could be expressed through the things you bought. Style became equally as important as function. Chair designers like Eames and Saarinen didn't just design seating, they created desirable lifestyles. People behind the product suddenly were stars. Everyone wanted to know who they were. Raymond Loewy was one of the shining lights of American industrial design. His face ended up on every coffee table in the nation. Toothpaste packaging promised whiter teeth. Washing powder packaging promised whiter whites. Who knew such simple household objects would shape the tastes and ambitions of an entire society? American industrial design improved America, functionally, culturally and intellectually, and exported it around the globe.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. Good morning. My name is Peter Ogburn. Clearly, I am not Bill Press.
No way.
Bill will be back later on this week. But we stay with our Tuesday guests. They come in with me, the JV team. Like it or not, you're stuck with me. Igor Volsky, Think Progress Managing Editor, in studio with us as he is every Tuesday.
Good morning.
Hi, Igor.
Hello.
Running the board today is Elisa Murphy.
Good
Elisa,
morning.
hello there. If you call 866-55-PRESS, that is our phone number, 866-557-7377. You will talk to Alicia Cruz. And if you're watching us on Free Speech TV or on the internets, you are doing so because of the good work of Cyprian Bolding, keeping us live on the video stream. Good morning to all. And Igor, we just saw you on Friday.
Yes.
We had you in studio for our guac off, the guacamole tasting.
Yeah.
I made some guac, and
you did.
Elisa
Unsuccessfully,
made some guac.
but you made, yeah.
And Carol, Bill's wife, made some guac. Carol made the winning guac.
She did. Very delicious.
Congratulations.
Smooth taste.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you
good
something.
blend. Perfect consistency.
Here's what I'll say.
I really enjoyed it.
Here's what I'll say about Carol's guac. After the show was over, hers was gone before anybody else's. We destroyed her guac.
I should have taken some with me.
We had so much of her guacamole. So it was the clear winner. I lost fair and square.
Mm-hmm. You're taking it very well, by the way. I mean, this is only the third day you've brought it up.
a
So
little bitter.
It's still lamenting.
Yeah.
I'm just a little bitter. Just a little bitter. That's all. I had to bring that up.
Well, we can do a redo. We can do a different dish. I mean, maybe a different dish will be more successful for you. I mean, there's ways, there's ways around this to
I have to
improve
figure out
this
a
for
different
you.
dish then.
Yeah.
That's what we should do.
I mean,
Elisa.
what can Carol not make?
We're
I
gonna
think
have
you
to
should
take
start with that.
the
What is
Carol
she not
cooking
great
class.
at? So far, she's better at making guac than me. So I'm gonna have to find her weak link, and then we have to have a throwdown on that.
I'll give you a list of foods I like.
Oh, good.
We'll start
Okay,
there.
good. By the way, congratulations to Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. He was reelected yesterday. He won the unanimous approval of his district, which had a 100% turnout.
Who would have thought? My goodness.
Amazing.
Yeah, what a leader.
I do find it genuinely fascinating in this day and age that somewhere as big as North Korea can manufacture such BS
and I don't understand
and get away with it.
Why you wouldn't build in some fake dissent so there's at least a fig leaf of some discussion of policy happening or something, some debate. Yeah. Right?
You remember
three people. I guess it's who wants to be the three, right? Everybody's like, no.
No, not me.
We saw what you did to your uncle. No.
You remember Kim Jong-il, his biography read in his lifetime, he had something like 36 hole-in-ones when he played golf. He was a successful movie director. Like, he just padded his resume so ridiculously. And everyone just like, what a guy. What a guy. I mean, we would look at it and nobody in their right mind would go, oh, well, that's interesting. And yet it's North Korea. It's not a small country. And they just get away with this stuff. 100% turnout.
Olympic figure skater.
Yeah. Like every bodybuilder. Yeah. Just make up whatever. By the way, we're going to be watching the internets, as I mentioned earlier. The president is going to be doing releasing his interview on Between Two Ferns, the Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah.
Have you seen this?
I haven't. I've seen about it. Yeah.
Do yourself a favor, and when you're done, go watch one of the episodes. Watch the one with Justin Bieber. Zach Galifianakis has real celebrities on, and he gives them the most awkward, uncomfortable, cringy interviews I have ever seen.
Wow.
And the president is going to be on it here in about 20 minutes.
So does he elicit things from them that other interviewers don't?
I don't know. Sometimes I think they're in on the joke. Sometimes I don't think they're in on the joke. Like at one point with Justin Bieber, he's talking about his bad behavior and all this stuff, and Bieber's kind of trying to play along, and Zach Galifianakis takes off his belt and starts whipping him with it.
Like
genuinely whipping him with it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's weird. My prediction is he's gonna tame it down a little bit when he has the president on, which would be
Can't
unfortunate.
whip the president. That would be
You're not going to whip the
awkward.
president.
Yeah.
I know he's not going to whip the president. That's for sure. All right, Igor. So when I was coming into work this morning, I was greeted by something that I don't usually see. I drive right by the Capitol every day, and the light atop the Capitol was on, which means they're in sesh. Never happens. Right? Like, it's only happened a handful
They're
of times.
almost never there. It's true.
Yeah. But like at the time of day that we come in, right, in the pre-dawn hours, I'm going, boy, what are they possibly getting done right now? What the hell were they getting done?
Well, getting done, not much of anything, sadly. There was a lot of talking. And, we, over the last year or something, you had Ted Cruz do a whole thing about healthcare and Rand Paul talk a lot about the NSA. And in this case, the Democrats said, well, it's our turn to do some talking. And they held an all-night session to talk about climate change, which I'm not directly comparing to what Ted Cruz and Rand Paul were doing necessarily. But here they thought, what a good way to raise awareness about climate change. Let's talk about it for like 15 hours. And they did. This was organized by the senator from Hawaii, Brian Schatz, I believe is his name. And the goal is to inject the issue of global warming, of climate change into the 2014 election, into the 2016 election, and really raise it up for people to make it an issue, a social issue in terms of what kind of planet, what kind of earth you're leaving to your children, an economic issue, the fact that we have all this extreme weather in this country and it's costing our cities, our towns, the federal government billions and billions and billions of dollars every year, the fact that this is going to get worse as time progresses if we do nothing. And so they really hoped to kind of push this through to kind of expedite the conversation, the national conversation, before it gets too late. The problem, though, is it doesn't play politically well everywhere,
right?
And which is why you saw a lot of the Democrats in the Senate who were vulnerable in 2014, people like Mark Pryor in Arkansas, Mary Landrieu in Louisiana, didn't take part in this. So
that's interesting.
It's going to be, I think, interesting to see how it plays out, because there are now billionaires who give money to the climate change conversation to try to really, advance the conversation, to try to pass some legislation. Whether or not they'll be successful, I think time will tell. But this is, I think, the beginning of that effort.
One, you mentioned some of the people that aren't taking part in it. There are several who are. Barbara Boxer from California, Cory Booker from New Jersey. In fact, here's what Senator Booker had to say.
When forest fires rage in New Mexico, they hurt Republicans, Democrats, independents in your state. When droughts hit in the Midwest, They hurt the farms of Republicans, Democrats, and independents.
Did he make any mention or reference to the fact that we had our guac off on Friday to raise awareness for crop change because of the climate change?
Well, I was going to go back and listen to the 15 hours to see if it was mentioned. Wasn't in the outtakes, sadly. Yeah.
Right.
But, I listening to that, I'm wondering, wouldn't it be cool if climate change was partisan?
Yeah,
right? Like if it only hit Republicans because they don't care about the environment.
Right.
I mean, Mother Earth could be a little vengeful. That would make for a fun, really push that change along.
Yeah, that would certainly that would certainly move the conversation along a little bit faster. Absolutely.
Target you, Jim Inhofe.
Another story on Think Progress. I honestly am kind of stunned by this. George Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Who in the time since he was acquitted of shooting Trayvon Martin, he's continued to make these weird appearances and getting himself into some trouble. I mean, we know he's had the police call on him a couple times. He's been pulled over. He was going to be in the celebrity boxing match, which was canceled, and so now he showed up back in Florida over the weekend. What's he doing?
Well, what better way to spend his time than signing autographs for his fans at a gun show?
Oh, man.
And a line of people to see him, meeting with his supporters and saying, look, these people stood by me when I was on trial. The least I can do is look them in the eye and thank them personally for all the support they've given me. And this is on top of, you remember that as soon as the trial ended, they sent him, this gun club sent him money for guns. I mean, he has a lot of guns. He says in that interview that he walks around with all these guns, wears a bulletproof vest, not for him, but for the safety of others. Always others in mind, of course.
Always thinking about others.
So, this guy, you wonder, what does the future hold? Is it going to be another kind of incident with him because there's been several, as you mentioned, that got him close to having some real serious trouble with the law. All those charges were dropped. Is he going to continue to cash in on this thing? How long can this keep going for him, right?
Yeah.
The so-called notoriety.
Right. I honestly thought that at some point, conservatives, and I think a lot of conservatives have just sort of left him behind because he is such a problem, but that responsible gun owners, of which there are plenty in this country, would say, you know what? We believe in hunting. We believe in gun rights. We believe in even carrying a gun. But he acted irresponsibly, and he gave gun owners a bad name, and we want him to just go away. And the fact that he's being embraced by some people, I think, is kind of messed up.
I think so, but the fact that he also has to do these local appearances, I think, suggests to me that the avenue for personal enrichment at this point, fairly limited.
Yeah, good point. All right, Igor Volsky is with us, Think Progress Managing Editor. You can follow him on Twitter at Igor Volsky.
Please do.
Definitely must follow.
Have you not followed me yet? Who are you?
Everyone's so needy for the Twitter followers today. It's okay. Arthur was begging for him, too.
Well, I have more than him, so.
Igor,
give him a petty follow or something. I don't know.
Igor Volsky on Twitter at Igor Volsky from Think Progress. Quick break. We're going to come right back and talk more with Igor. It's the Bill Price Show. My name is Peter Ogburn. By the way, I'm on Twitter at Peter Ogburn.
Follow Peter too. Fine.
I wouldn't follow me. We'll be back. It's the Bill Price Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help because we wouldn't be here without you. It's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? Well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month from Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world. Believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery for $360 or $30 a month. You'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those who are able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past, and now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, Tuesday, March 11th. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill today with Igor Volsky, Think Progress Managing Editor. Follow him on Twitter at Igor Volsky. If you follow Igor, you'll see that you just sent out a selfie from right here in the studio. Yeah. You caught me off guard. I'm very confused.
Very
in the
surprised.
Photo. You can only see that exclusively on Igor's Twitter at Igor Volsky. So I mentioned the Between Two Ferns.
Yes.
The Zach Galifianakis thing. So it's up. They put it up a little early. Hey, Elisa, can we just roll some audio from it? We don't have to have it super edited. You can just roll it. I just want to hear what's going on.
Kind of taken out of circulation, turkey you couldn't eat.
So how does this work? Do you send Ambassador Rodman to North Korea on your behalf? I read somewhere that you'd be sending Hulk Hogan to Syria. Or is that more of a job for Tanya Harding?
Zach, he's not our ambassador.
What should we do about North IKEA?
North
IKEA?
Why don't we move on?
I have to know, what is it like to be the last black president?
Seriously? What's it like for this to be the last time you ever talk to a president?
It must kind of stink, though, that you can't run, 3 times.
No, actually, I think it's a good idea. If I ran a third time, it'd be sort of like doing a third Hangover movie. Didn't really work out very well.
Too soon.
Now, I have to say that I've seen this show before, and some of the episodes have probably been a little bit better than this. For example, the one with Bradley Cooper, that was a great
Bradley
show.
Cooper, yeah, everybody loves
He kind of carried that movie, didn't he?
This is such a weird interview. All right, we can kill it for now. We'll get some more. It's like it's like 6 minutes long. We can we'll get some more audio from it in the next segment. We'll play some later. It's certainly one of the more bizarre presidential interviews.
It takes, I think, a lot of confidence for his advisors to say, "We think he'll be good in this setting. Let's drop him in and see what happens," because it could go horribly wrong. And I'd suggest that if he was up for re-election, he would not be doing this.
You're absolutely right. This is the second term.
Yeah,
this is the second term president.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that Bill talked about when he was here before he took off to Las Vegas, which he'll be back later on this week.
How much money is it going to make us when he comes back, you think?
Oh, so much. Look, I gave him a $20 bill and just said, make me some money. All right,
yeah,
so
well,
we can do. But he'll be back later on this week. Have no fear. But one of the things that he's talked about are the Hillary papers, the Hillary Clinton secret papers. Did anything come out of that? I mean, it seems to me like there was really no there.
There's not much, but there's this quote that's circulating with Hillary saying, look, this individual mandate that the Republicans have in their alternative plan is really not going to work and is going to be really tough to pass. It's not good politics. It's not good policy. We should just go with the Clinton plan, which was very reliant on employer responsibility and said employers have to provide coverage to their employees, da-da-da-da. And so you saw all these reports kind of coming out saying, oh, Hillary in 1993 didn't like the individual mandate. Then she embraced it. Now Obama has it. What will she do in 2016? Da-da-da. The problem with all this, though, is that the Clinton healthcare plan, the Healthcare Security Act in 1993, had an individual mandate itself. I know. As part, it was kind of not really talked about because it was part of this larger employer responsibility idea. But the proposal was, look, if you are part of the 30 million people at the time who are working, even if you're on Medicaid and Medicare and you're working, you have to pay at least 20% of your healthcare costs in order to take quote-unquote personal responsibility. So this notion that she opposed the mandate, even though it was part of her plan, is kind of a rough sell. But that's really kind of the news that's coming out is, because it plays into the Obamacare politics so well, is how is she going to run on Obamacare? Is she going to have to distance herself? The mandate's so unpopular. What is she going to do? So people forget what the plan was, and I'm here to remind them.
So it still sounds like there's just not a lot there.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. I was hoping you were going to have some bombshell, but yeah.
Well, there was that fun quote about how advisors to Hillary saying, this stuff you guys are saying about people being able to keep your doctor and the insurance they like, I don't think you can say that.
Oh, yikes.
There was that.
Okay.
So that was kind of new. That was I was excited.
What else are you working on? Anything else coming up big?
We're going to have another piece on the Redskins from Travis Waldron, who was here yesterday.
Exciting.
The name change, a new development happening there, kind of pushing that story forward. Look for that this morning.
Absolutely. We check Think Progress several times a day.
You really have to do it hourly.
Is it hourly?
It's a kind of hourly on the half hour.
Should I make it my homepage?
The Twitter, the homepage, Facebook.
I'll make it my homepage.
Just Instagram. Do the whole thing.
Igor Volsky. You guys do Instagram?
Oh, yeah. It's a big way to get the followers.
I had no idea you were on the Instagram.
Well,
I'll have to check that out.
Well,
Igor Volsky.
Everywhere. We're everywhere.
Managing editor of Think Progress. Follow him on Twitter at Igor Volsky and read them online hourly at thinkprogress.org. Thank you, Igor.
Thank you.
We'll be back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help because we wouldn't be here without you. It's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? Well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show, the first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery for $360 or $30 a month. You'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those who are able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on Talker TV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Make sure you are watching the show if you can. We've got the link on our Twitter page at BP Show. At BP Show. Streaming video there for you. It is a bona fide mystery what has happened with this Malaysia Airlines passenger jet that disappeared over the weekend. More than 200 people on board, and we still don't know the fate of that plane, where it is, what happened to it. We're trying to get to the bottom of it with the China bureau chief for the Washington Post, Simon Denyer, joins us on the phone from China. Simon, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. You can follow him on Twitter at Simon Denyer, Denyer. Suggest you all do that. So get us up to speed, I guess, on where we are with this plane. Are they any closer to finding the plane?
Well, actually, some intriguing new information is just coming out, just breaking now, actually. And that is that the plane may have... We heard a couple of days ago the plane may have turned around.
Right.
But now military officials are being quoted as saying that the plane actually flew over the entire Malaysian peninsula and that they tracked it into the Andaman Sea. So in other words, for an hour after the transponder went dark, the plane apparently, I mean, this is not 100% confirmed at this stage, but the plane may have reversed course, flown over the entire Malaysian mainland and been tracked into the Andaman Sea before they lost track of it. That's military official talking to the Reuters news agency, and it's the Malaysian Air Force chief talking to a Malaysian newspaper. So there's a couple of sources there.
That is that's a fascinating break in the story, because the weirdness of this story, I think, came from the fact that they had communications. The communications went dark, and after that, they said that it looked like it may have taken a turn, but there was no confirmation. I wonder why it's taken so long to get a confirmation that for an hour after contact, they were still tracking the plane.
Well, precisely. I mean, that's one of the first questions I have. This new theory explains a couple of things. It explains the lack of debris that's had every airline expert that I've spoken to completely puzzled. It explains another thing, which has been puzzling me for the last 36 hours, why they've been so much of the search effort's been concentrated on that side of the peninsula.
Right.
There are actually more ships today in the Andaman Sea looking for the plane than there are in the Gulf of Thailand, which suggested to me they knew something they weren't letting on. But you're absolutely right. If they knew this for sure, why were they even looking in the Gulf of Thailand? Why didn't they immediately go to the Andaman Sea and go, well, we saw it over there? I can only assume that it was an unidentified blip on the radar that they kind of weren't really sure about, or they went through their records, or I don't know. I'm not a radar expert, but perhaps it was just at that stage one of the theories, and perhaps they didn't want to sort of they weren't sure how much weight to put in it. But it's certainly intriguing.
Yeah, that's incredible. Did you get any sort of sense with this latest story on why it may have gone that route? I know that there are a lot of theories out there, and we don't even have time to give any to even go through all of them. But I know that one of the ones that's being looked at very seriously is the case of the missing passports. Can you tell us what the latest is on the passports?
Well, the passport issue may turn out to be a red herring. The latest on that is that the two people who traveled with missing passports were Iranians, and according to the police, at least one of them was due to be met by his mother in Frankfurt and was just simply looking for a better life in Europe. And they've said they have no evidence to link that person, a 19-year-old man, to any terrorist group. Mm-hmm. So, that episode, while interesting as it has been, actually, I've been enlightened how many people travel on stolen passports and how few immigration officials actually check that against the Interpol database. That may turn out to be just a coincidence. That's possibly not related to this. The thing that has been floating around there as a theory for a little bit, and people are beginning to sort of wonder about now, is was this another episode where a pilot may have taken the plane out of control? That there may be some. Obviously, hijackers has to be a possibility. But some kind of pilot suicide or pilot mental breakdown also has to be considered.
That's scary. It's
extremely scary.
That's very scary.
It may have happened. There's a couple of instances of planes where that's been active theories. There's an Egypt Air crash and a Silk Air crash, and of course it's very, very hard to prove that, because you can't, in that instance, you can't see into the cockpit. The pilot makes sure that the transponder goes dark and the data recorder and the voice recorder are turned off. But those are, let's say, active theories in a couple of crashes that happened a long time ago, actually. But But who knows? Who knows? I'm speculating here to some degree, but it's got to be an active theory at this point.
I know that you mentioned, and we should be very clear about the stolen passport issues could very well be a red herring. Might not be the case that this was the cause of the problem, but I'm stunned that in today's day and age, you could even get on with a stolen passport. You hinted about the ease of that these days. How is that so easy in a time when it's so hard to get on a plane?
Well, absolutely. I would dream of thinking that I could travel on a plane with a stolen passport. But it's not just that these guys got through Malaysian immigration with stolen passports. They clearly thought they could get through European immigration with stolen passports too. And for this to be, they're now talking about a stolen passport syndicate. Now it turns out this is actually potentially quite a trade that's going on here, stealing people's passports in Asia and flying them to Europe. Interpol have said they're very disappointed that very few countries systematically check passports against their database. So today, one of the reporters asked the Malaysian police chief, why aren't you checking this against the database? And he rather unsatisfactorily said, well, there are 14 million names on the database. But in an age of computers, that was not a very satisfactory explanation.
No, not at all. I mean, yeah. Well, it's not like he's got 14 million names on a page he has to go through.
Well, precisely. And one gives one's passport number to the airline when one buys a ticket. One has one's passport checked when one checks in. You have it checked again at immigration. At both ends, you think that somewhere along that line, that could be just cross-referenced on a computer without slowing immigration procedures down dramatically.
China bureau chief for the Washington Post, Simon Denyer, is our guest live from China on the Malaysia Airlines situation. I hesitate to call it a crash because we don't know what it is at this point. But what's the next step, I guess, Simon? Or do you think that they're going to start concentrating more in that area where they think that they've tracked the plane? And what sort of resolution do you think we're going to see here and when?
Yeah, well, as I said, they've already got slightly more ships on that side of the peninsula than the other side. I think that if this news is confirmed and if they release it publicly, then the search will shift to the other side. But you look at a map, and it's a vast expanse of sea that they're now searching in. The weather conditions, at least in the Gulf of Thailand, are slightly worse today. There's white caps on the water, which mean that it's harder to look for bits of debris. So, we are facing a situation where if this is right and the plane veered off course and then they lost radar contact with it, it could be almost anywhere, and we could be in for a very long and frustrating search.
Well, Simon Denyer from the Washington Post, I thank you so much for joining us and giving us the update on that. There's some fascinating information there, breaking news. I really appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure.
All right, Simon Denyer from the Washington Post, China bureau chief. You can follow him on Twitter at Simon Denyer, Denyer, and online at Washington Post for all the breaking news there from Malaysia Airlines. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
To talk about today. I know you're enjoying the show so far, but important to take time out for a little reminder about Free Speech TV and how we depend on you. And you are so important. And I'm so proud to be part of this great Free Speech TV network because, look, this has been a big cause of mine for a long time. And that is how tough it is to find good, progressive opinion and commentary in this country anymore because the media is so lopsided to the right. If you look at talk radio, for example, there are about 2,000 news talk stations in the country. Maybe only 50 or 60 of them are progressive talk radio stations, and that's probably being, generous. And on television, what do you got? You got Fox News far to the right. You got the corporate media, CBS and NBC and ABC. Even MSNBC is not progressive 24/7, as we know. There's only one 24/7 progressive television network you can count on, and that is Free Speech TV. But we're only there because of you, and we wouldn't be there without your help. And this is a time of the year that we turn to you again and ask for your help to keep free speech on the air and to keep your favorite progressives out there with you every single day. We ask you to be as generous as you can in making a pledge to Free Speech TV. And here's something you ought to consider. If you can give us $120, make that kind of a pledge to Free Speech TV. That's $10 a month. You'll get a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop in the world. It's right downstairs in our building. If you can pledge $240 or $20 a month from Cowgirl Creamery in California, take it from me, the best cheese in the world, better than France or Switzerland. Cowgirl Creamery, it's great. For $360 or $30 a month for that kind of a pledge, we'll send you another treat from Cowgirl Creamery, plus a Bill Press Show mug. And if there's any way you can pledge $1,000, a very special treat for you, you make your way to Washington, and I will take you and a friend out to dinner and then invite you into the studio here to watch the show the next morning. That would be a lot of fun. Hope you can take advantage of it. But however you can help, if it's $120, $240, or $360, or the big one for $1,000, we ask you just to dig in, be as generous as you can. It's so important to keep our progressive voices on the air, to keep Free Speech TV on the air. And there's one independent television channel that has no corporate money, no government money. All of our money comes from our viewers. We work only for you. We're happy to do so, but we also depend on your help. Please be as generous as you can. Thank you.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, live on your radio and streaming video. You want to watch us on video? Of course you do. Go to BP Show on Twitter, at BP Show. We've got the link for you there. Taking your calls at 866-55-PRESS. Shout out to Simon Denyer, the guy we were just talking to from the Washington Post. Great information there on the Malaysia Airlines. It's a fascinating story of what happens next, and we'll be right here on top of it here at the Bill Press Show. I've been teasing all morning the fact that the president was going to be on Between Two Ferns, the web interview show with Zach Galifianakis. If you haven't seen Between Two Ferns before, it is a very, very awkward talk show where Zach Galifianakis asked very embarrassing questions, potentially embarrassing questions. And so he had the president on, and the video hit about 20 minutes ago. Can we just roll some of it, Elisa? Is that all right? So we're just going to roll some of this. If it's not funny, we'll break from it. But I just want to hear how some of this went. So let's fire it up.
Is it going to be hard in 2 years when you're no longer president and people will stop letting you win at basketball?
How does it feel having a 3-inch vertical?
It's a 3-inch horizontal. So, where are you planning on building a presidential library, in Hawaii or your home country of Kenya? Because, I mean, both places seem like they would be...
Zach, that's a ridiculous question.
Well, not to bring up the birth certificate thing, but you really never did really produce your real...
Where's your birth certificate? Why don't you show it to us right now?
I don't want to show anybody my birth certificate because it's embarrassing.
What's embarrassing about it?
My weight on it, it says that I was born 7 pounds, 800 ounces. You know what I would do if I were president, Mr. President? I would make same-sex divorce illegal, then see how bad they want it.
I think that's why you're not president. And that's a good thing.
You said if you had a son, you would not let him play football. What makes you think that he would want to play football? What if he was a nerd like you?
Do you think a woman like Michelle would marry a nerd? Why don't you ask her whether she thinks I'm a nerd?
Could I?
No, I'm not going to let her near you.
So do you go to any websites that are .coms or .nets, or do you mainly just stick with .govs?
No, actually, we go to .govs. Have you heard of healthcare.gov?
Here we go. Okay, let's get this out of the way. What did you come here to plug?
Well, first of all, I think it's fair to say that I wouldn't be with you here today if I didn't have something to plug. Have you heard of the Affordable Care Act?
Oh yeah, I heard about that. That's the thing that doesn't work. Why would you get the guy that created the Zune to make your website?
Healthcare.gov works great now. And millions of Americans have already gotten health insurance plans. And what we want is for people to know that you can get affordable health care. And most young Americans, right now, they're not covered. And the truth is that they can get coverage all for what it costs you to pay your cell phone bill.
Is this what they mean by drones?
The point is that a lot of young people, they think they're invincible.
Did you say invisible? Because
no,
I just think like that's impossible.
Not invisible, invincible.
Okay.
Meaning that they don't think they can get hurt.
I'm just saying that nobody could be invisible if you had said invisible.
I understand that. If they get that health insurance, it can really make a big difference. And they've got till March 31st to sign up.
I don't have a computer, so how does...
Well, then you can call 1-800-318-2596.
I don't have a phone. I'm off the grid. I don't want you people...
I'm off the grid.
My text, if you know what I mean.
First of all, Zach, nobody's interested in your texts. But second of all, you can do it in person. And the law means that insurers can't discriminate against you if you've got a pre-existing condition anymore.
Yeah, but what about this, though?
That's disgusting. How long have you had that?
Oh, just 4 months.
Really?
Spider bites. I got attacked by spiders.
Zach, you need to get that checked right away. You need to get on healthcare.gov because that's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen.
Is your plug finally over?
I suppose so.
So which country were you rooting for in the Winter Olympics?
Seriously? I'm the President of the United States. What do you think, Zach?
I want to thank President Obama.
All right, there you go. Let's end it there. Look, that could have been a disaster. That could have really been a disaster.
Yes, it could have.
But the president did very well, and I don't think that Zach Galifianakis held back too much.
Yeah, it was pretty funny stuff, actually.
The plug. Here we go with the plug. That's really good. I like that. I think that was a ballsy thing for the president to do, and I'm glad that Zach Galifianakis didn't really softball it too much. So there you go. We've got the link out on Twitter at BP Show if you want to watch the video. It's worth watching because the chyrons on the video do kind of make it. I was watching it during the break, and it's pretty funny stuff. Let us know if you think it was smart of the president to go on a show like that on Twitter at BP Show, taking your comments there. All right, my name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill. We're going to take a quick break. Still have lots to talk about in a jam-packed third hour. Stay tuned.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help because we wouldn't be here without you. You know, it's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? You know, well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, you know, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you, and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month, we will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month, from Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery for $360 or $30 a month. You'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those who are able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show. 56 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today on this Tuesday, March 11th. Like I said, we have that Between Two Ferns video on Twitter, at BP Show. We've got the link there. Watch it, share it. Spread the wealth. It's going to be probably the most talked about thing today. I think we're going to spend all day talking about that and playing clips. It's very funny, and the president did a very good job. Speaking of the president, what is he up to today? He's on the road again. He is headed to New York after a couple of things he has on the schedule. 10 o'clock today, Eastern Time, of course. He receives the presidential daily briefing in the Oval Office. An hour and a half later, he is going to designate the Point Arena Stornetta Public Lands as a national monument. That's out on the California coast. Bill will know all about that. Around 2:15, he's leaving the White House to go to Andrews Air Force Base, and he hits the road to go to New York, landing at JFK at around 3:25. He has a couple of events. While he's there, he will attend one for the DNC and another for the DSCC, raising money. The DNC event is going to be closed press. The DSCC event will have print pool coverage, so we'll get some nuggets out of there, what the president has to say at that fundraiser. Then he hops back on Air Force One, heads home. Leaves JFK around 9:10, lands at Andrews Air Force Base around 10 o'clock, and is back home at the White House about 15 minutes after that. What a commute, man. That's a decent commute to get from Andrews Air Force Base to the White House in 15 minutes. I guess that's why having a helicopter is pretty good. All right. So that's what the president is up to today. He's not going to be dodging the Between Two Ferns video, I would imagine. Someone's going to ask about that at some point. Lots more to talk about in the third hour of the program. Make sure you are streaming live video. Find out where at BP Show on Twitter. Have a big show coming, our big hour coming up next.
This is the Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn. I am not Bill Press. I'm filling in today. Bill's going to be back a little bit later on this week, so stay tuned. It's Tuesday, March 11th, 2014, and I thank you all so very much for tuning in, either on your favorite radio station or streaming audio on the TuneIn app or the iHeartRadio app, or streaming video of us on YouTube. The link you can find at BP Show on Twitter. At BP Show on Twitter. We have the link there for you. You can follow the show on Twitter, like I said, at BP Show, or follow me at Peter Ogburn. And running the board today is Elisa Murphy. Elisa, good morning.
Good morning.
On the ones and twos in there, holding it down. Nice
Yeah.
job. If you call 866-55-PRESS, you talk to Alicia Cruz, screening your phone calls. And on the video stream, keeping us live on the air, is Mr. Cyprian Bolding, who doesn't get a microphone. We don't trust Cyprian with a microphone. It's trouble. I am happy to report that there are some people who will come in and hang out with the JV team when Bill's away. Julian Hattem, reporter for The Hill, joins us in studio. You can follow him on Twitter at JMHattem, 2 T's, E-M, and online at thehill.com. Julian, thanks so much for coming in.
Oh, no, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Lots of stuff to talk about yesterday at South by Southwest with Edward Snowden showing up. We're going to get into that in just a couple moments. I do have some sad news to report for food court enthusiasts. Sbarro Pizza filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy yesterday. The
mall will never be the same.
The mall will never be the same. I mean, you've got what? You've got Panda Express now, who's going to establish food court dominance. Sbarro, I've only had like in a rare occasion, which is like, you just have to have pizza or whatever, and you're like stuck. Like, okay, I'll settle for boiled pizza at Sbarro. Like, I can deal with that. But for the most part, it's no great loss.
It was actually I have a soft spot in my heart for Sbarro. Because when I was a kid, one of my best friends' elder brother worked at Sbarro.
Oh, yeah,
so he would bring home every day the huge pizzas after work. And so I equate that with a beautiful moment in my childhood, so it's sad to see it go.
That's me with the Subway cookies. I had a friend whose older brother worked at Subway, and he would bring back all these Subway cookies that they didn't sell, man. Yeah. All right. Well, look, I'm sorry for you.
I think I'll get over it.
Someone
The
genuinely
nostalgia.
sad about Sbarro Pizza going away. One other quick story I wanted to get in because it's important. The state of Colorado yesterday released. This is a good transition from food court pizza to marijuana, because yesterday the state of Colorado announced some of their tax revenue from recreational marijuana and medicinal marijuana in the month of January alone. 1 month, the state of Colorado made $3.5 million. $2.1 million were spent of tax money were gained from recreational use of marijuana.
That's some green.
That is some major green. That's some good green. So, the argument that, this might not be worth some states taking a look at, I think, $3.5 million worth of revenue in 1 month, I think that you could say that's worth it. That's worth taking a look at. So we'll be talking more about that throughout the show. But South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, a speaker there yesterday via like a Google Hangout, right?
Yeah, well, seven
irony.
proxies, but through Google, he was on video. Yeah, Edward Snowden, for the first time in months and months, pretty much since the leaks last summer when he first came out, kind of did a Google Hangout of sorts at South by Southwest, talked with a couple guys from the ACLU, answered some questions about what's going on, his recommendations and stuff like that.
So what were... Well, first of all, let's play this one clip. This is sort of the money shot from Edward Snowden yesterday when he kicked off his speech.
The NSA, the sort of global mass surveillance that's occurring in all of these countries, not just the U.S., and it's important to remember that this is a global issue, they're setting fire to the future of the internet. And the people who are in this room now, you guys are all the firefighters.
Okay.
Quite a metaphor.
Yeah, I guess. How was he received, I guess, is my first question.
I mean, super positively. You probably, would come as no surprise, a room full of, for the most part, tech geeks think that Edward Snowden is in a large part a hero. They said that, he helps lead this great debate that, I guess, truly that the world is having about cybersecurity and cyber standards and the safety of people's data online. So there was a broad recognition or a broad kind of support for him. And, he's obviously sought asylum in Russia, and there's a lot of criticism of people who have criticized him for the leaks and for leaving the country and things like that. But I think one of the interesting things is, and you can tell from that quote, is that he really said, you guys here in this room, tech people, technologists, tech advocates, you're the people who are going to change this, not, from Washington. He pretty much gave up on the idea that Congress can fix some of the reforms or change things about the NSA that he thought were so kind of offensive, and he said that technologists can lead the way forward.
I'm glad you mentioned that because, there was a time that Edward Snowden had sort of set fire to the internet, with everyone talking about whether this guy was a traitor or a hero. I know Bill, when he's here, he's firmly in the Edward Snowden good for him camp. Mm-hmm. But he still sort of admits, he's sort of making this a lot about himself, and he certainly, I think, might take away from his overall message. Mm-hmm. So, I'm curious to see what happens next with Snowden. We'll get into sort of what he is pushing and what he's talked about in a second. But with him personally, what are his options? What's the next step?
I mean, they're
kind of limited, right?
Yeah, and he definitely has this kind of, I don't want to psychoanalyze too much, but there is certainly the kind of martyrdom complex. He said, I took an oath to defend the Constitution. He had to defend it, and he's very kind of strident. And he appeared via, Google Chat with a big green screen image of the Article 1 of the Constitution behind him. So there's the
showmanship,
exactly,
I think, is a little cheesy.
Yeah, it was a little much, certainly. Yeah. But to be fair, this was the first real public interview he's had or public appearance he's had in 9 months or however long it's been since the leaks first started coming out. So he hasn't necessarily hog the spotlight too much, but he definitely reveled in it, at least, for a little bit yesterday.
I think the moment that he lost me is months after all the revelations had come out, and he said, I have so much more in my back pocket. If I wanted to destroy the United States of America, I could.
Yeah.
And come on, dude.
Yeah, there's a little. He's definitely gotten a little kind of ahead of himself, but I mean, it's not exactly hard to imagine why. I think for a very long time, the United States government considered him, if not enemy number one, a huge major thing. There have been hearings about him for months at this point. So it's not surprising that he might have a larger than life image of himself.
Are we actively going after him or actively trying to bring him?
I think for a kind of a brief moment in time, this was the central issue between the U.S. and Russia, but that obviously there are a couple of different issues that have come up since then. So I think at this point, people say, he should, defenders of the NSA, critics of his say, he should bring the documents back, if he should bring stuff back and kind of hand it over and, we get your point, dude. All right, come on. Yeah. But that's obviously, I don't think that's going to happen. And I think he's still a concern for a lot of people in the intelligence community, but he's not their main concern in the way that he may have been a couple months ago.
So what kind of action has been taken here in the United States since his revelations? Have we put any of his advice to use? Have we put any of his criticisms? Have we taken them into consideration?
I think what's happening is happening at a couple of levels. Again, in the public, I think, has been made aware in a large way of what's going on, which I think he has said is one of his big goals. He said, the fact just for people to know what's going on, then to decide for themselves, that's what I want. And for the most part, that's happened. People if you start to pick up a newspaper every other week or listen to the radio and, hear a new revelation, that's happening all the time. And for the large part, people both here and abroad are outraged. And so there's been some action in Congress to rein in things. There's this bill, the USA Freedom Act, which is from Senator Pat Leahy, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and Congressman Sensenbrenner, who originally wrote the Patriot Act.
Right.
And that's gotten a fair amount of support. Over 100 other members of Congress have signed on. But it hasn't yet made it out of committee process. It's still early in the stage. So I think for the time being, that hasn't actually gone too far in the process. There's been some other kind of talk going on. And President Obama gave a big speech, I guess, a month or so ago.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Explain sort of what came out of that was born out of the Snowden stuff and how effective or what kind of changes we're going to see.
So he pretty much called for changes in a couple of different phases. Immediately, he's made some limits to the NSA's power to search what's called metadata of phone calls. It's pretty much anytime anyone makes a phone call, the government can track who you called and like how long it was and how often you make it. And this is stored in the records, and the idea is that it can help make links between theoretical terrorists. So they've limited the ability to search that. They've required a court order to do that. And they're advocating putting a new civil liberties advocate in office at the White House to kind of limit some of these things. And that was kind of seen as a good first step, but certainly not much more than a first step. He's also asked, President Obama has asked the Attorney General and leaders of the intelligence community to give him more reforms by the end of the month, actually, pretty much. And so he's reportedly looking over some options there, and there's a couple of options for what to do to kind of limit that some more. And the plan is that those are going to come out over the next couple of weeks. We're still not entirely sure what that will look like, but it's certainly something to keep our eyes on.
I find it kind of interesting that the president is asking members of Congress
to
draft some legislation to look at things that he is doing.
Yeah.
Am I wrong, or am I reading that wrong? I mean,
it's definitely, it's an interesting position for him, and he's kind of in a rock and a hard place because he has said repeatedly, I support these programs. I think they are, limited, help fight terrorists, et cetera, et cetera. And so he supports them, but a large percentage of his base, both in the party and kind of throughout the country and Congress, have said they don't, and they think they're a gross intrusion on civil liberties and civil rights. And so he kind of needs to reform that to curry favor with his own party and with lawmakers and to kind of quell the outrage, and with foreign leaders who've also expressed concern. But he also doesn't necessarily want to reform them too much because he likes them. So he has to kind of do this weird shuffle that I think is interesting to watch. And I guess we'll see how that plays out over the next kind of couple weeks and months.
It's one of the things that Bill says that we've said for a while is I don't know that people would be that outraged about this program if they knew about it ahead of time, right? But then as like more started coming out and you see just how deep this went and the fact that like they are, could hack into web cameras, right? Just without it even being on.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're looking and spying on cell phones of world leaders. Like, just imagine if a story came out that Germany had tapped into Barack Obama's phone.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of reaction we would have.
That's probably not a good thing.
It would be bad.
Yeah.
It would be really bad. And to know that, like, we took it to such an extent, I think is what burns Americans. That's where I think America as a whole is.
And I think there's also been some criticism about kind of the way that they have handled it, the intelligence community's handled it. Because they've always said, these things have been overblown, et cetera, et cetera. It's a huge story made out of nothing. But they were kind of slow to respond, and they've blamed the media for portraying it in a negative light. And there's been, members of Congress who have said, okay, like if you think this is such a good program, it's your responsibility to come to us, to the American people, and you obviously don't have to give us the full details, but we should have known more before. And so that's your failing, NSA, DOD, et cetera.
So what's the future of the NSA? What does the face of the NSA look like now?
So actually, it's funny you asked. Just today, there's a new nominee who's been nominated. He's going to appear before Congress, before the Senate. His name is Mike Rogers. He's a vice admiral in the Navy.
Not the member of Congress.
Not
Mike
the
Rogers, right?
House Intelligence Community.
Yeah.
Which is
that'll be
really
fun.
annoying to
That'll
me.
be fun.
But I guess you got to take their names for what they are. And he's a new guy. He will be taking over, assuming he gets confirmed, for Keith Alexander, who's been there for the last 9 years. He's the longest-serving NSA director. And this new guy, Rogers, so far is kind of an unknown to a lot of civil liberties advocates, the ACLU, people like that. They're not entirely sure who he is. He's got more of a kind of cryptologist, cyber background, kind of, in the weeds, kind of nerdy stuff. And so we'll see what he says, and that will surely be, his confirmation will certainly be a process for a lot of this stuff to come back to light and to get back to the headlines, at least for a little bit.
So we don't have enough on him quite yet.
Not yet. I mean, we'll find out, though, I'm sure.
That's what these hearings are for.
That's what these are for. He'll get asked the tough questions and surely not answer them. But
Julian Hattem is our guest from the Hill. We're going to take a quick break. Lots more to talk about the future of the NSA and the effect on spying in this country. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press. More with Julian Hattem from the Hill. Follow him on Twitter at JMHattem, Hattem, and online at thehill.com. Quick break. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show. and online on Talker TV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, live on your radio and streaming video on YouTube. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill today. Just about 2 minutes left in our segment with Julian Hattem, reporter from The Hill, in studio with us. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, go check out the Between Two Ferns. The President of the United States went on Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis.
I just heard. I after this, getting my computer out. I can't wait.
So let me ask you about a story we've been talking about. We don't have a ton of time, but I do want to get your take on the Comcast-Time Warner merger. Al Franken has been very critical of Comcast and their customer service and how they treat people. So what's it going to mean to their merger with Time Warner?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. He has been really kind of, I guess, so far the most vocal opponent of this proposed merger between these two cable companies that would be by and away the largest if this merger gets approved. And so far, it's yet to be seen. There will be a hearing in the next couple of weeks in the Senate to kind of probe these things, to have them defend what's going on. But really, what it comes down to is not Congress, but it's the FCC who will regulate or will approve the merger for some things, and then also the Department of Justice. And they'll kind of trade forces on that. And so they are essentially going to say, one, has Comcast lived up to the obligations of its merger with NBC Universal?
Right.
A couple years ago, there was kind of a number of responsibilities in there that they were supposed to hold up to, and one of the questions is going to be, have they fulfilled those obligations respectfully? And how much would this proposed merger kind of dominate the market? Would it be a monopoly and kind of kick other people out?
It's an interesting. I mean, that to me is the biggest point, because it looks like, just the optics of it anyway, that they're going around and buying up their competition in market. Yeah. I mean, Time Warner was their only competition in some markets, and so now, if there's no competition, then that's not a problem.
I mean, they'll certainly be the largest. They'll be in like 19 of the top 20 markets or something like that. But they say, as it is, Comcast and Time Warner aren't in the same market as it is, so there's not too much overlap.
All right, Julian Hattem from The Hill. Follow him on Twitter at JMHattem. Thanks so much for being in here.
Thanks so much for having me.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, do you realize that heart disease kills more Americans every year than all forms of cancer combined? So when you donate to the American Heart Association, you're contributing to life-saving research with every dollar. You can make your donation today through the Pop Money personal payment service. All you do is download the app or go online to popmoney.com. Sign up to send your donation to jessica.gramillion@heart.org. jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Here's the best part. The 95-cent fee is assessed to you, the sender, regardless of how much money you contribute. That means that 100% of your donation goes to support the ongoing research to help save lives across America. No fees are paid by the American Heart Association, getting more bang for your buck. And of course, terms and conditions apply.
on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill today. We are streaming live video. If you want to watch the video, you can go to BP Show on Twitter, at BP Show. We've got the link there for you. We're also streaming audio on the TuneIn app, on the Progressive Voices channel, and on your favorite progressive radio station all around the country on this Tuesday, March 11th. So the situation in Russia and Ukraine continues, even though we haven't been talking about it quite as much. It seems to have stalled a little bit. So we are joined by staff correspondent for the National Journal, Marina Koren. You can follow her on Twitter at Marina Koren, Koren, and online at nationaljournal.com. First trip here, right?
It is, yes.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
It's early, I know. I mean, we sort of have pretty terrible hours.
That's okay. I'll have my coffee as soon as I'm done here.
Perfect. So tell us a little bit. Pardon my ignorance, but I don't even know where we are right now, where we stand in the Russian conflict. So where are we today?
Right. Well, things have definitely stalled, but when they do happen, they move pretty fast. So the latest news came this morning. Basically, Russia is drawing up a few counter proposals to send to the U.S. Because they say that what Secretary of State John Kerry is proposing is not going to work. So right now, it's there's negotiations at play, but they're not moving fast. But they're going to have to, because this Sunday, I think, is going to be the breaking point for this crisis. So Crimea is holding a referendum to decide its future, and Crimea is right now a sovereign territory of Ukraine. But Russia has moved, troops into Crimea over the last few weeks. There's 30,000 troops on the ground, and that region is pro-Russia, and they're going to vote to become part of Russia. And, the new leadership in Kiev has condemned that. The United States has condemned that. Other Western powers have done the same. So it's going to be an interesting weekend as this crisis comes to a head.
When you talk about the John Kerry solution, what is it that he is pushing?
Basically, he's pushing just any sort of de-escalation. Right now, there are a lot of military, there are a lot of troops Russia is sending into Crimea, but, not saying that there are any troops there. And the U.S. knows that these are Russian troops, and social media knows that these are Russian troops. Right. There's video of, Ukrainian reporters asking these troops, where are you from? And they're saying Russia. So Kerry just wants, the situation. It wants Russia to pull back and to engage in diplomatic discussions about how to, deal with the new leadership in Kiev and not let it escalate into a civil war in Ukraine.
I do find it fascinating that, even today, people don't get that social media and people on the ground, won't pick up on this stuff. We talked about that story earlier where Kim Jong-un reported that 100% turnout, he won 100% of the vote. And it's just so blatantly wrong that it doesn't take a lot to debunk that. But still, they're sort of just putting information out there in Russia and just expect people to not know about it or not figure it out.
Right. And, people are not stupid, and with the internet, they're less so. So they're going to find out. But, Russia, it's still different over there in terms of how much information they're getting. And, the state-run news agencies, the news reports that they're putting out, Vladimir Putin is protecting Russian interests. He's protecting the people. He's doing the right thing to a lot of Russian people.
Wow. You mentioned how fast this is all moving. It has moved it's been 3 weeks since the end of the Winter Olympics. And it's closing ceremonies. Russia looks great. Wow, they pulled it off. They got this done with minor headaches. And then literally it was a week later that World War III is practically breaking out in Russia. So, I don't want to sound too naive, but why is it moving this quickly, and how is it that they're going to find a resolution this quickly?
Right. Well, it's moving fast because the situation has been simmering for a long time. So this all goes back to November when the Ukrainian president, who's now hiding in Moscow, occasionally giving press conferences to reassure people that he's still alive, he hasn't been killed yet. He rejected a deal from the European Union, closer ties with them, and, in exchange for closer ties with Russia. So the civil unrest has been brewing since November, and it just came to a head in February. I guess it's just a very volatile situation over there. And the Ukrainian government the new one has to do something because the economy's falling apart. There's a lot of domestic issues going on there, so they have to work fast. And, Russia wants to work fast, too.
Nationaljournal.com is the website, and your latest piece up there is about why Turkey is getting involved in Ukraine. Why is Turkey getting involved in Ukraine?
So that's a good question. They're kind of, it's kind of not surprising that they're getting involved. So Crimea is a largely Russian region. 60 to 70% of that population is Russian, but there are minority populations, specifically the Crimean Tatars, and these are a group of people that are indigenous to the region. They were persecuted for centuries under the Tsars, and they once belonged to the Ottoman Empire, and then Russia came in during the 18th century, conquered them, millions fled to Turkey, and many remain. This is a minority population that has had a history of bad blood with Russia. In the 1940s, Joseph Stalin expelled the entire population to Central Asia, and a lot of those people settled in Turkey. And so it's kind of the Russian incursion into Crimea has sparked a lot of ethnic strife. And Turkey is saying, if Russia's saying it wants to protect the ethnically Russian people in Crimea, we have the right to protect our people there too.
What other kind of international support have we seen, or any other kind of intervention have we seen in this situation?
Not much in terms of military aggression. I mean, there's not much that the U.S. or the EU can do. So the U.S. has been pushing sanctions like visa bans, and I think 2 senators this week are calling on FIFA to expel Russia from FIFA. I mean, from the World Cup. Right. It looks like a pretty desperate situation in terms of what we can do. Basically, it's just mediation and negotiations, because the EU, if they push too hard, they know what's at stake. They have a lot of deep economic ties with Russia, and they depend on Russia for natural gas and crude oil exports. So it's a matter of pushing hard enough, but not too hard.
What kind of, when you look at what we've done in terms of how we've made a stand or taken a stand or made a statement on the situation, what have we done as a country towards Russia?
Well, not much. I feel like we're not saying that much, but that's because we can't.
Right,
I'm not sure how much leverage, the Obama administration has and Kerry has, and, Vice President Joe Biden has been making a lot of calls to the former Ukrainian government, to the new one, but that's just what they are, they're calls. So the most the U.S. can do is impose, visa restrictions, bans on individuals that they feel are undermining the new Ukrainian government. But in terms of economic sanctions, they won't hurt that much. The U.S.-Russia trade relations aren't that large.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Pretty icy. You mentioned Joe Biden, which is a name I haven't heard a lot in this situation. I know that when the president picked him as his running mate years ago, that one of the things that he had mentioned was, Joe Biden's got that foreign policy experience. What kind of role has he played in this so far?
Well, he definitely has, the foreign policy prowess that I think Obama said that he did. And he's actually playing an interesting role. I mean, he's been on the phone with Ukraine, between 9 and 10 times in the last few months, calling them, talking about de-escalation. So he's playing a very important role, but not as visible as Kerry. But I think we're going to see that he's going to become a lot more involved. Biden actually just cut his Latin America trip short to meet.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So, he's clearly getting more involved as the situation goes on.
41 minutes past the hour. Our in-studio guest is Marina Koren. Follow her on Twitter at Marina Koren, Koren, staff correspondent with the National Journal. We are going to take a quick break. We still have a lot to talk about. Can you stick around for a little while?
I am.
All right. Quick break. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show. On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show. 45 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill today. You can follow me on Twitter at Peter Ogburn. I wouldn't follow me, frankly. But if you want to, you can. We are joined in studio by staff correspondent for the National Journal, Marina Koren. Follow her on Twitter at Marina Koren, Koren. You should follow her on Twitter and read her work at nationaljournal.com. Big news, by the way, from McDonald's, which is like, I know, like we don't usually talk about McDonald's. We never get breakfast there. But McDonald's, you heard about Taco Bell has these breakfast waffles.
I did.
You seen this?
Yes.
Like,
I want to unsee it.
It's the worst, right? Like, I'm sure I read about that in the Book of Revelations. Like, when they start putting tacos inside of waffles, like, all bets are off. So McDonald's is playing catch up with the whole breakfast fast food wars. They have been testing out in San Diego 2 new breakfast pastries called the McCafe Petite Pastries. They're like little. They look like little bear claws, right? And one of them is raspberry, and one of them is a cinnamon cream cheese. You can get both of them for $1.99. How about that?
It's a good deal.
I mean, you know, I always love to see how the food industry is trying to keep up. So, you know, now that we've lost Sbarro, pour out a little bit of hot grease for your Sbarro in your food court that filed for Chapter 11 yesterday. Now that we've lost Sbarro, right? Like McDonald's has got to reestablish their dominance at the food court, I guess. We are talking to Marina Koren from the National Journal about the situation in Russia and Ukraine. And the Ukrainian Prime Minister is going to be here in Washington this week. What are we going to be seeing?
Well, it's going to be an interesting trip. As I mentioned earlier, Vice President Joe Biden has cut his trips abroad to be there for this meeting with President Obama. It's just going to be a lot more of what we've seen the last 2 weeks, a lot of talking, a lot of negotiating. You know, there's not much the U.S. can do in terms of military aid. It did send, you know, a $1 billion aid package to Ukraine. So it's just going to be talks about moving forward and what this vote in Crimea is going to be like on Sunday. But of course, the meeting is giving, you know, good PR to Moscow, who says, oh, well, you know, the new prime minister has time to go to the U.S. and schmooze with the president instead of worry about the domestic issues going on in the country. So.
Yeah, that's troubling. But I mean, it also, I mean, we've firmly aligned ourselves with Ukraine, and I think it makes sense for us to meet with him. But yeah, you hate to hear that that's going to be twisted in such a way. So how is that going to play back? I mean, I guess Ukrainian people are sort of, do they realize sort of how involved we are, and is there goodwill being built up there?
I'm not sure about the situation on the ground. It's hard to tell because there's so much going on and there's so many conflicting news reports, and you know what Russia wants you to believe, what Ukraine wants, you know, their people to think. It's just going to be an interesting weekend in terms of this vote. And you know, right now, for all intents and purposes, Crimea is Russia's. They have the troops there. They have the parliament backing them. And you know, if Ukraine loses Crimea at some point, maybe it's just. I read a story. I think it was Matthew Schofield for McClatchy said. He quoted an expert saying, you know, maybe it's just good business if Ukraine loses Crimea. There's not much Ukraine can do. They can't match Russia militarily.
Certainly not. Yeah, I mean, if it comes down to a military fight, then yeah, that's no good. So give us, if you can, just as we watch this in the next couple of days, sort of a timeline of what we're going to be looking at and what to keep an eye out for.
Right. Okay. So you're going to see just more and more tension. Mm-hmm. The question now is
not necessarily fighting, but more tension.
No. Okay. I mean, I don't think we're going to see any fighting this week because both sides, they don't want to shoot first. Russia doesn't want to shoot first because then it knows, this would be even more argument for Western nations to be like, you are violating international law. That's definitely going to be a Cold War type situation if Russia shoots first. And if Ukraine fires first, then, that's all the justification that Putin needs to move troops in and actually engage in conflict. So it's kind of this weird, like, Western type standoff. Although it's not Western at all, because it's Eastern Europe. So we're going to see a lot of negotiations, a lot of back and forth with Kerry and the foreign minister there in Russia. And the non-military action is really going to be this weekend with this vote in Crimea.
Well, we will certainly keep an eye out for it. All right, Marina Koren from the National Journal, staff correspondent. Do go follow her on Twitter at Marina Koren, Koren, and online at nationaljournal.com. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we're right up against the break. One more quick segment coming up. I'll wrap it up. It's the Bill Price Show. Peter Ogburn sitting in for Bill.
This is the Bill Press Show. On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill. One final segment here on this Tuesday, March 11th. I appreciate all of you tuning in. I have to tell you, just a quick, unsolicited plug, by the way. New favorite TV show. I gathered the kids around last night. I put on my smoking jacket and let my pipe hang out of my mouth and said, "Children, gather round." I brought the kids in, and we watched this Cosmos show, this new show on Fox.
Oh, yeah?
It's a reboot of the old Carl Sagan series, and it's Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it's produced by Seth MacFarlane.
Oh.
It is so good.
Oh, I have to check that out.
It's all science.
I'm a huge
it's all
MacFarlane fan.
Science. It's not what you've come to expect from Seth MacFarlane by any stretch of the imagination. There's nothing. There's no comedy, no real comedy or raunchy humor. It's a science show.
Really?
It's so smart, and it's Neil deGrasse Tyson, who, for my money, is like one of the greatest living Americans right now. I mean, the dude is so crazy smart, and I dig his voice. You know, I'm such a fanboy of his. But, you know, they just do a whole thing on the solar system, the creation of the Earth, and they do it in such a way that, like, my kids, 6 and 9, enthralled.
Wow.
They loved it, and I loved it.
That's super cool that he's doing that. I never even heard about that.
You've heard the Cosmos series from way back in the day with Carl Sagan. This is just the reboot.
Oh,
boy,
wow.
oh boy, is it good.
Cool.
So excited to have a show that we can like all sit down, because like that's the hardest, because like I don't watch a lot of TV, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to sit down and watch American Idol with the kids? No.
Can't have them watching True Detective.
They're not going to watch True Detective or Walking Dead or any of the other crap I watch. So like Cosmos, it's like it is a legit family show. And you know what else I love about it? They don't spend a lot of time talking about creation. They don't spend any time talking about creationism or any of that stuff. It's like, this is science. This is how it happened. Science is fact. It's phenomenal.
That's awesome. I'm going to check that out.
I think it comes on Sundays at like 9 o'clock.
Okay.
So it's after the kids have gone to bed. And so like I TiVoed it and we watched it.
Educational as well.
A lot of much education.
Really cool.
All right. So in the final minutes, that's just my unsolicited plug for Cosmos. Seriously, you should TiVo it, and I hope that good TV thrives like that. So anyway, check it out. And what you should also check out today on the other end of the intellectual spectrum is Between Two Ferns, hosted by Zach Galifianakis. He had on the President of the United States on his show this morning, and everybody that I've mentioned, he goes, "No, it wasn't really Obama, was it?" No, it really was President Obama, who Zach Galifianakis introduced as a community organizer. And here's how their conversation went.
So how does this work? Do you send Ambassador Rodman to North Korea on your behalf? I read somewhere that you'd be sending Hulk Hogan to Syria, or is that more of a job for Tanya Harding?
Zach, he's not our ambassador.
What should we do about North IKEA?
Why don't we move on?
I have to know, what is it like to be the last black president?
Seriously? What's it like for this to be the last time you ever talk to a president?
It must kind of stink, though, that you can't run, 3 times.
No, actually, I think it's a good idea. If I ran a third time, it'd be sort of like doing a third Hangover movie. Didn't really work out very well, did it? Now, I have to say that I've seen this show before, and some of the episodes have probably been a little bit better than this. For example, the one with Bradley Cooper, that was a great show.
Bradley Cooper, yeah, everybody loves
He kind of carried that movie, didn't he?
That's phenomenal. I love it. That could have been a disaster, and the president did a great job. We'll have that. We have that up on Twitter at BP Show. We should put that on our Facebook page.
Okay, I'll do that today.
Let's do that. So go find us on Facebook. Just like us at Bill Press Show. All right, that does it for this Tuesday show. One more day of me filling in tomorrow. Tune in, be there, and then Bill's back later on this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you tomorrow.
This is the Bill Press Show.